We're on Instagram Live.
Millions of followers.
So, welcome to our Boston panel. We have Nick here, Kate, and Tony. I'll let them introduce themselves to the world. And here you go, Nick.
Sure.
Yep.
Nick Simon. I live on the Upper East Side in Manhattan, and this will be my 6th time running the Boston Marathon in a few weeks. So we're really excited for it. Each one is very special. And I also organize a running club here in New York City, Upper East Side Run Club. So for any of those who are interested in attending, you're more than welcome to join.
My name is Kate Gustafson, and I am a coach with Miles Marathon, so mostly remote coaching for the most part. I have run 3 Boston Marathons, and it is an incredible experience. There's nothing like it. There's only one Boston. I have 3 athletes that are training to run this year, and my partner Michael, who is here to tackle his 3rd attempt at it. And I run, most of my own running is done in Brooklyn, but I love Central Park as well.
Yes. Hi, I'm Tony Chung. I'm a Brooklyn native. I've been running for a while. Fairly well known in the local urban running community. And yeah, I've run more than a few marathons. Let's just say that.
Great. So a combination of these guys combined have run 16 Boston marathons, more marathons after that, but and then a total of us have ran 32. So,
Do the math.
So altogether, we'll go from start to finish. We'll give you guys training tips, like last minute for the last two weeks of training tips going down the row, and then going to the start. Any tips from there, the course. Any of you guys have any questions as well? So I'm sure you guys do. And we'll start with Nick on any last minute training tips.
Sure, that's a lot to unpack, but yeah, I would say, definitely, I think the number one thing is don't do anything new on race day. So whether if it's don't unpack a new pair of shoes the day before at the expo, but really just stick to your training, whether if it's your fueling, anything that you trained with through your long runs, stick with it on race day, and then just be race smart. I would say. Do you want to talk about are we talking about the course?
Not yet. So.
Okay, just in general. But yeah, I honestly just really eat well, sleep well, and just kind of visualize that race going into it.
I think there's one thing that occupies a lot of brain space in the 2 weeks leading up to Boston, and often that is the weather. So I think you can watch the weather and you can be mindful of it, and I think you could look at this weekend as an example in New York City, just for the group here, that it was really warm, it was very humid, it was really windy, it was very cold, and it could be like that all weekend in Boston until you get to the start line, and it could still change. The wind could change. So I wouldn't spend too much of your energy refreshing your app every day. It's fun to look and have something to look forward to, but I wouldn't worry so much about that.
What I would say is Boston's the cherry on the top of all the hard work to get there. So you're in taper mode. You want to be fresh for Boston. So try to limit all those little things that add up to anxiety. You just want to be fresh for Boston. The number one thing is getting there healthy. So if you're in taper week and you decide, I'm going to run every shakeout run possible up to dumped, just enjoy the whole process. Enjoy Boston. It is the marathon that we all dream about. So just get to the start line healthy.
So Boston is actually on a Monday, and usually marathons are on a Sunday. So does that change anything?
Well, just make sure you put your out of office in and let your boss know if you do have a job. So I would say yes, that is important. In terms of your last long run, you still can do it as Saturday, Sunday, the weekend before. But yeah, out of office.
That's great advice. I think the only other thing I would think about is if you're doing a final workout that week before, a little tune-up workout, you can think about that. That can be on Tuesday or it could be on Wednesday. You're fine. Again, it's about like keeping the nerves under control, not doing anything new, not doing your biggest workout of the cycle the week before. But yeah, that's my biggest tip around the actual day of the week that Boston falls on.
On Sunday, the anxiety level builds up because all the races are happening, the BA 5K, about 20 shakeouts are happening, and all you want to do is go out there and experience them all. It's different because it's going to take place Monday. So just enjoy the day. Sunday, the lead up, just enjoy the day. Whether you go for the shakeout, I've done both ways. I've gone for a shakeout and I've not gone for a shakeout. It didn't matter to me because I was ready and I knew I was ready. So if you need to for your headspace to go out there, don't run up, Beacon Hill, whatever you do. Just go along the Charles River. All right. So that would be my one thing about the race falling on a Monday. It's just different, but it's nothing unusual.
So when a person gets to Boston, it's like, wow, like I'm here, like everything hits you all at once, and then you just try to go to everything. All events out there, the expo, like a whole list of slew of different things, Tracksmith, like all these different, stores and down Newberry Street and whatnot. So, any tips on that aspect?
Sure. I mean, as Brian said, there is a ton going on. You're gonna get there, and it's like near the expo, the streets are just packed with people walking around. There's a lot of good energy. I would say maybe just hand pick one or two that you are really interested in, because as much as, again, Boston's a fun city to go around, make sure you're eating and going out and doing that, but also just be mindful of not being on your feet for so long. So if you do go to events, try to find a chair, sit down, but just, try not to just walk the entire city of Boston, as fun as it is to be there. So just save the legs.
When you get to the expo, if you're a first timer, you probably wind up walking through the entire expo. The veterans will just go to get their bibs, look at their names, and get out of there. It's understandable, but you just don't realize how much time you're spending walking around the expo. And then by the time you get outside, there's a whole bunch of stores, Tracksmith, Nike, Adidas, they're all out there. And generally, you're always looking for, what are they giving for the Boston Marathoners? Let me go check. Because there's usually something free at one of these places. So you can wind up walking more than you actually think you are. So just be cognizant of that. And just make sure that, you do eat and hydrate while you're spending the whole day getting a bib. Seeing your name up on the wall, it's a thrill. So just reserve that for yourself.
I think I'll just also add that unless you're hustling to catch a flight or the train right after your race, all those stores will still be there. They still want your business, and they will still have a lot of gear and swag to sell. So you can also go shopping when you have your medal around your neck and you're hobbling around the city. So I highly recommend that. People will love it. You'll get lots of cheers.
So one advice that I would give to all the newbie Bostoners is take the poster, because your name is on that poster. So for the first timers, you want to solidify that you ran the Boston Marathon. So your name will be on that poster that they give out for free. So okay, so done with the expo, almost there. Rounding the race. Getting to the start, like, is it gonna be crazy and all? Any advice on that?
It's gonna get crazy. It is. It's. If you've done New York before, it's maybe not at obviously not at the same size of the scale, but everyone is rushing to the buses at the start line. I would just say again, there's a lot of anxiety. Just give yourself enough time. Don't feel like you're rushing out the door to time it perfectly. Everyone's gonna be getting there, an hour or two in advance anyway. So. Just any ways you can bring down your stress level, that's important. But yeah, in terms of the start line, make sure, if you're in a hotel or Airbnb, go to the bathroom beforehand, because there are no bathrooms on the buses. These are school buses. So that's number one. And then otherwise, in terms of getting to the start line, I would say in your clear bag, make sure you're packing, again, weather can always change, but just pack for all types of weather. So definitely layers. You can always throw away layers. They'll donate them. And then they usually have sunscreen at the start too. So I made that mistake last year. I woke up the next morning and my whole back was a lobster. So yes, apply sunscreen, wear a hat, sunglasses. But yeah, really be mindful of kind of the clothing that you're bringing to the start. And then lastly, I'm not from the Boston area, so I may have one or two family members or friends who are up there, but unlike New York, where I know somebody here. But sometimes I like writing, putting my name on my bib. If you've done that before, it just helps if, people who don't know you are still gonna yell your name, and it just gives you that little extra boost, so.
Just to add to that, when you're on the school bus, a lot of people are doing Boston for the first time, and they're coming from all over the world, and a lot of people want to talk about it. So I think it depends on who you are. If you're more introverted, maybe you need to go more inside and just focus on your own experience. And if you're extroverted and you get energy from other people, participate in those conversations, get to know people around you. When you get out to Hopkinton, it will feel like you need to urgently get somewhere and everyone is doing something. It's okay, you likely have an hour or two or more once you're there. So find your spot, calm down. There's gonna be, hydration stations, all sorts of things. Find, the restroom that you need to use. Do the things that, you would normally do before any long run when you're at home. But just find a way to sort of calm those nerves, because it'll be a while before you move from the school down to where you're actually starting. So the other thing, just on Sunday, when you have the time and you're in your hotel room or Airbnb or wherever you are, to spend some time mapping out where you need to be that morning, what time, just alleviate any possible stress on race day that can help with that. So having a plan in place is a really great idea. The bag that you're going to check, the bag you're going to bring with you, and all of your extra layers. Sorry, John.
That's okay. You usually get you've been mailed your participant guide, and they give you the time frames for the buses. That's plenty of time. I've been there when I've been over that time frame, and it's okay. Don't stress out. Oh my God, I got to get there right when the bus is open, or I'm not going to be too late for the bus. Don't worry, relax. It is a yellow school bus. It's cramped. It's noisy. Yes, and if you're going to apply sunscreen, one right side, because that's where you get it. Not on the left side, you get it on the right side, because there's no cover on the course, and it's always on the right side. So, but yeah, you have it's always been smooth in terms of dropping off your baggage. They're really nice. There are tons of volunteers. They're all very helpful. You don't need any more anxiety and stress when you get to the bus, because the bus is not the thing you should stress out about.
Yeah. Just wake up on time.
Right.
Yeah.
So one little tip from my perspective is when you go to the race course for all the newbie runners, after you enter Athletes Village, and then they call for you, your bib, you're walking down to the race start. There is a little or area where you could relieve yourself too, so don't freak out that you have to go to the bathroom before you start, Athletes Village and you leave Athletes Village. So there is a bathroom area. Later down, when you're walking down to this race start, there's like a whole slew of urinals and water there available, and then you guys get into your race corrals as well too, so don't freak out. Another tip for you, for those first time runners, before this, is to go to the Sam Adams Brewery. They give out a pint glass if you show them you're running the bib, you're running the race as well too. So they give that out every year, collecting, if you wanted to collect them all, you could too, so. I've done that. Okay, so you're at the start, anxiety hits, and then you start the race, Any tips on the race course and by itself? Because, you hear about all this, kind of information about the Newton Hills, and it's like a fishbowl effect, and it's just a slate down and then back up. Any tips?
Sure. Yeah, I'm just gonna say don't go out fast. That is the #1 rule. But even before that, I would say once you get into your corral, there is no need. You don't need to push yourself to the front of the corral. Everyone you're qualified for. You got into Boston, so you are amongst very talented, fast people. So a lot of people are in your corral are going to be running around your pace. So try again. Don't worry about trying to push yourself to get to the front. If anything, the more you can get a little further back in your corral is going to save you in the end. So I would say, the beginning of the race, that first 3.5 miles or so is downhill, which sounds great in theory, but it can really, if you go out too fast, it can really hurt your quads later on. So do your best to try to reel it in a little more as you're going those first 2 miles. You're gonna have a lot of, excitement going on right when the cannon and you hear that go off. But try to do your best to try to calm down, really, think about, this is 26.2 miles, so no one's gonna win it in the first 3. But I try to kind of visualize it into 3 parts. So, miles 1 through 16, get through that. And then 16 through 21, that's kind of where some of the hurt comes in. So if you can really preserve some of that energy and get through Newton Hills, Heartbreak Hill, and then once you get through 21, it's fun. Yeah, you can get after it, go down, and it gets to the finish line. So yeah, just be mindful of that in the beginning.
Just to go back to what Brian was talking about, a tip. When you walk to the corrals, if you forgot to a gel or a safety pin or whatever, there's a house right on the right that has everything. Salt tablets, you name it. It's on the right. You walk down and you see people just grabbing the last. It's free too, because they know all the runners are freaking out about what they forgot at the village. As for the course, you go about 25 yards and then you just go straight down. So it's understandable to be going fast. Everyone has done it. Every first timer has done it. I've done it. So it's okay. You just have to reel it in. You just have to tell yourself to reel it in. And my #1 thing, the first fluid stop, do not cut from left to right, trying to go to the right side fluid station. They're on both sides. You don't have to go from the far left to go over to the right because you see the first fluid station. It drives me crazy when I get someone cutting right in front of me because they're so anxious to get to the first fluid station. They're on the left side and the right side. If you're on the left, it's just a little further up than on the right.
Those are all great tips. What color is the house?
I think it's white.
Yeah, I think actually that running fast can come out of excitement. And so yeah, maybe you're experiencing a whole array of emotions, anxiety, excitement, overconfidence. I'm actually gonna run like the fastest I've ever run, 3 miles in this first, 10K. You have to do everything you possibly can to resist the urge to do that. And it's so much of running, people say will go by feel, go by effort. You may, in that moment, want to follow your watch a little bit closer than you typically do, just because that will hold you accountable. If you need someone to hold you accountable to running the pace that you've practiced and that you've trained for, and it's going to feel so incredible when you come flying off of that 4th hill into mile 22 and you're hitting the downhill at that point and your quads are not shredded. I promise you, you will pass hundreds, if not thousands of people just with that, like reversing those the first 3 miles, trading them for that last 4 to 5 miles. And it's so much fun to feel great in the final mile of the Boston Marathon because the fans are incredible. So if I can leave you with one piece of advice, that would be it. And then again, I think that one thing that people miss about Boston is that there are tangents. It may look like it's a straight line. Do not, if you're on one side of the road, of course at the first mile mark, but don't make decisions where you have, unless it's a very hot day and you need to get over to that water station in order not to miss it, then you need to do that. I think that's a smart decision. But otherwise, pick the side of the road, and then also just remember that tangents exist, and it's not literally a straight line. You do make turns, you're running up hills, you're going around corners, to run smart and strategically, and that can just give you something to focus on as you make your way through the miles.
Yeah. Thank you. There's a button. Forgot to hit the button.
We're doing this again.
Sorry about that, Instagram Live. We were just talking. We're on the course, so sorry about that.
You're saying it's on.
Yeah, now it's on.
Oh my god.
It's like over, it's like very fast.
We'll read you everything.
How many people we got on there?
They've all disappeared.
You lost everybody.
It's okay. So we'll start over. We'll say that on the course, basically you hit the cheer station. So as Kate said, but like let's dial it back, and we've heard all about these Wellesley girls.
Yeah.
How about those Wellesley girls when you hit them?
How about it?
Sorry.
Yeah, you go.
I think if it's like anything, it's like it could be like making out with someone Wellesley, or it could be high-fiving a little kid. It's like whatever you need to do to get energy from the course. So it really is like, it might be spontaneous, it might be in the moment. I know my partner is gonna wear a shirt that says Canada on it, so that's gonna be his strategy to get a boost of cheers. So I think it's adding your name to your shirt. That's a strategy, but it's like, what can you do when you're out there that'll actually give you energy back to you and make you motivated, knowing where you're, if you have family or friends or your running club, the cheer station, where they're going to be. That's so helpful when you're on the course and you know exactly if you're having a bad patch at mile 15, but you just need to get to mile 22. That's so key.
You can hear that zone before you even see it. It's much like if any of you have done New York City Marathon, when you come off the 59th Street Bridge, there's a sort of silence as you come off the bridge, but then as you make that turn, come up first, you can hear the air vibrating. So you can feel that sound as you don't even see them. You're like, oh, they're over there. So I mean, yeah, if they are so loud, they can pierce your eardrums if you're running on the right side. So I generally say to the middle or to the left because as much as I applaud people for sporting, but sometimes I want just to be in a zone where I'm just not getting assaulted by too much sound.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're single, go for it. You know? Have some fun. At the same time, again, same thing with the first 3 miles of the race. Don't try to impress someone too much. You're probably never going to see them again. So conserve your energy.
So basically, you hear all about it, but like about a mile away, you will hear the cheers and the roars of the Wellesley girls. You will see guys that basically go straight and then they'll turn horizontally, like literally 90 degrees into the crowd. And you just have to be aware of when you're running, you just see that happening, and just like kind of watch out for those guys that just like kind of dart over. But like again, to its own, have fun with it. But like once it will like up your ante energy wise. So just be careful of the speed that you are gonna have with that cheer squad around you, and then like once you leave that area, you're like, wow, like I need to slow it down a little bit because you like looking at your pace, you will speed up a lot, you know, in that because that's where the halfway point is, right at Wellesley. One advice that I would give is on the course, when you do go from town to town to town, just like kind of stop at the moment, not like stop like, you know, running, but like just stop in the moment and kind of like look around you and like just look around and see like the kind of New England town that you're actually doing, and also the race by itself that you're actually participating in too, because it is a big deal, it is a big event, but like it's a lot of people, they just focus, and they don't really actually take in the moment. So stop in, take a moment of yourself, breathe, and like actually capture that kind of instance that you are doing the Boston Marathon as well too. So I heard about all these hills, you know, in that instance. Is it 4, 5? Some people say 6. What's the key around that, and how do you you know, recover, or how do you like get around it? You know, so any tips?
Well, you can't escape them. You're gonna take it regardless. Yeah, I think it just goes back to, again, just being smart at the beginning of the race and just saving your legs. And then, yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about Heartbreak Hill, but that is not the only hill. So Noon Hills, definitely be mindful of them. And yeah, I mean, again, I think nutrition is key, and just fueling. So even on a day, if it happens to be cold, rainy, just keep remembering to take in water and Gatorade on the course, and fueling, even though if you don't think you need it, you do, because again, that's just going to help you even more, just keeping, you know, your legs and body staying fueled.
Yeah, I also think it's worth noting, if you look at the profile of the course, that there is a hill around mile 2, which is also weird, because everyone's like, you're gonna roll down 10K and there's no hills, and there's a hill at the beginning of the race, so don't be surprised by that. I think one of the hardest hills is right after you pass 15 miles. There's a huge steep downhill, you feel amazing, and you know that they're coming, and you start to see signs that are talking about hills, and the crowds are getting a little bit bigger. But I think between 16 and 17, you go on the overpass, and it's a tough climb. So you know, it's just like one hill at a time, just like you're doing mile by mile. That might be a place in your race where you're starting to break them up, and also that might be a part of your race. Like, I'm just going to give you 2 different points of view here, that you just want to, you know, is it working with someone beside you? You know, like, I've made tons of friends on marathon day. Do you just work with that person to get through the hills? I've had people tell me, like, I didn't know when I was on Heartbreak Hill, where I was. that really doesn't matter. There will be lots of signs when you're on Heartbreak Hill, but that again, it's I think unless you know the course, so if you're a 7-time veteran, I think that's, you know, maybe you want to be better this year than you were in other years. But if it's your first time, you know, just focus on getting through, you know, each mile, you know, half a mile that's in front of you, whatever that looks like. So I think it's, you know, there's different strategies of getting through the hills, but again, once you come off of them around 22, you're going to feel great, and there's a lot of downhill ahead of you.
I've had it both ways, where I felt great and I felt everything was shredded. And when they felt great, it was just steady, one hill after another. You don't think about it, it's a hill, it's there. Just go up, go over, come down. When you're shredded, it looks like it's going to take forever to get up and clear and then come back down. You just have to, I always go back to the mantra of it's one foot in front of the other. I'm not going to go fast, I know that, so I'm just going to keep my feet moving. I go back to the basics. Okay, steady, slow, get up, get over, try to do it again and again. Because when your first time, you don't, when you're in Newton Hills, you're like, oh, wait, how many are there? I lost track. What was that, the 4th hill, the 5th hill? But again, it's like going back to how you started running. You just have to remember, okay, this is just another piece of terrain that I have to get over. And then when you see the Citgo sign, then you know you're close.
So those are all really great tips, and Kate, I'll go back to yours, where you do go over the Boston or Mass Pike, I think it is, or Mass Turnpike, and that's like what a lot of people say that they start the hills. Then you flatten out a little bit, and then you make that turn onto the Firehouse, onto Common Ave. But they say that there's 3 other hills after that, which is the Heartbreak Hill is the last one. And they do get steep, or like they get less steep as you go, but the first one is the longest and the last one is the shortest. And the middle one is the middle. But as you do go up, for the first timers, it does go up and then flattens out because there's a road that like it's in between a road and it's like plateaus, and then it starts back up again. So that counts as one, which is like when you go up, plateaus, and then you go back up again. So a lot of people are like messing it up because like they say, oh my god, like it's one after the other, but they count that as 2 rather than 1 because it plateaus. So just watch out. The best advice that I could give you is, for any new runner too, is to recover right after the hill. So if you do quick recovery, think about it, like breathe, and then just get ready for the next one. That's the best tip that I could give you guys as far as to really get around the Newton Hills itself. So once you're over Heartbreak, it's probably the easiest last 5K of any road marathon major, right? I think
It's a breeze. Yeah, honestly, like it is like the best feeling ever once you get over that last hill. You're just coasting at that point. Yeah, you're good. And then you just look forward to getting to the rest and stuff. Yeah, what else for me now?
I mean, I'll listen to a 16-time veteran tell me that it's the easiest finish. Yeah, I think that this is where, you know, you draw on the mental side of the sport, and that's, you know, you're gonna think about why are you here tonight? It's you know, like obviously there's a reason why this matters to you, and so that same reason will probably show up for you, or hopefully it does, or you're able to, you know, write it on your hand, whatever you need to do to remember why it is that you're out there, because it's going to be hard. I think it would be unfair to say that it's going to be easy. Marathons are really hard endeavors, and I think, you know, like for me at Boston, I loved competing. I loved feeling great coming off of the hills. I love passing people. So that was something for me that was just, you know, really motivating. And like it kept me engaged with what I was doing. And I think also just believing in yourself. So if it's like belief, whatever that is that you need to pull out of yourself, like you're going to have an amazing finish on Boylston. But just remembering, you know, whatever brought you here tonight, like it's going to be something that's going to get you over that finish line because you care.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty easy, the last 5K, if the conditions are right and you feel great. That's when you enter the city, so you really feel the energy of a lot of people. They're all, I mean, if it's a nice day, they're so deep that you can't believe everyone fit on that one corner. But, you know, I was there for 2018 and I don't remember the last 5K.
Oh, I was there, yeah, I started home.
I remember the med tent that I walked into.
Oh, we might have been in the same one.
Just before Citgo. I remember clinging to a barricade, and then I remember the finish line, and that's about it. I don't remember everything in between that, and then going into the med tent right after the finish line. So, those are all those things that can happen. You can have great weather, you can have poor weather. But enjoy that last 5K if everything is going well. Just enjoy it. Because it's just a great feeling to run through the city, Boston, Fenway Park. You know, you're coming up Hereford, you know, making the left. It's just an amazing feeling.
Right, but that's the key. Is what they said in the very beginning. You don't want to feel like shredded legs. Okay, so the idea is to keep a little bit left in the tank because you will see people like that just are done and they. Left and right, they'll go into the side, cramping up on their legs because of the fact that they spend so much energy on the hills. So just save a little bit more on the end, and you will have a better time at the last 5K because I think it's a lot easier than New York in a lot of cases, and I'm sure you guys all have done New York. But yeah, any last minute tips?
All right, two things. One is related to the race. I would say I typically don't wear headphones, but I think, again, this kind of goes back to the course. It's so much fun running through different towns. There's college students out. So if you do like to run with headphones, maybe at times take one out, just so you can kind of hear the crowd, because I do think that really helps to pull you through to the finish line. And then the second, just have a lot of fun after the race, because you deserve a beer. If you don't want a beer, it's whatever it is, just being around people, because you have put in all this hard work, so really enjoy the moment after the race. So this is like a hot take from me, but I usually don't go to the, you can go to Fenway. It usually is really, really busy and takes forever to get through, so there's lots of good bars near Boylston, so that's usually my 27th mile.
Again, for first timers, just enjoy it. That's my tip, just enjoy it. The people in Boston, they're really proud of this marathon. It's the oldest marathon in the United States. And everyone's really nice to you, especially New Yorkers. It's amazing. Usually you get, the rest of the year you might get some commentary, but that weekend, they will peel a banana for you if you can't peel your banana. They are that nice to you. It's savor the moment when you get your medal, when they drape the medal over you. Savor that moment. It's one of those things where you've worked so hard to get there, and that's the validation when that medal goes over your neck. And so, and just remember, like Brian said, it's an amazing experience. And just be in the moment for that. Like every Boston I've ever done, I've always, before I started the race, remember the 3 victims from 2013. And we're here. You're there. Savor it. Enjoy it, and be proud of it.
I think I'll just add to that congratulations to everyone who's heading to Boston, who's here tonight, that's ready. I will say that we gave you a lot of tips and advice, and you could follow all of that, and it could still be a really hard day, and that's okay. It could, that's the marathon. So I think it's like what are some of the things that you're gonna draw on when it does get hard out there. It's going to be amazing. There's only one Boston. It's incredible. You're gonna have, you have memories, and you're gonna have so many photos, and I think just good luck. Appreciate what you have over these next 2 weeks. Keep it pretty chill, low key, nothing new, and thanks for having us today.
Thanks. And get the jacket.
I will let the crowd now come up with their questions. Greg, you want to help me out here? For Instagram Live. And then we're going to post the stuff on Instagram with our other video that we have. So the sound of the first half of this will be on there posted.
This is you guys.
Well, just you guys. So,
I think we're good on this
anyone
one.
have a question?
Everybody's supposed to hi.
You say hi back.
Good over here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Molly. I am a patient of cats here at Custom, and this is my first Boston, and thank you. I have a few questions, but I'll just ask one for now so other people can get stuff in. So with the name on your bib or on your shirt, I've done it in the past at other races, but I know Boston has a lot of rules, and the thing that I have is like literally like my name printed on a piece of paper and then laminated so that I can keep reusing it. Nobody's gonna like tell me I can't have that on my shirt or anything?
No.
No, just make sure you have your bib on.
Yeah.
Which takes up like
I know.
half your shirt.
That's a good question, but you can do it.
Fit it on there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
I'll ask one that you asked me. If one of you mentioned this, how do you all break down the course?
Yeah, so usually it's really 1 to 16. That's where like those first like real those Newton hills start kicking in. Then 16 to 21, and then 21 to 26.2. But again, and then it's really thinking the first 3 miles, just being like, all right, making sure like I'm not going like a minute faster than I'm supposed to. But once you get past there, then I'm like, all right, now I can chill a little bit.
I always think a digestible way of, depending on like if you're really following a pace, if you're like, I want to run this pace in Boston, which is tough to do, it can be done. But I think it makes sense to break it up into like 3s or like 3 miles, 6 miles, or 10K, depending on what system you follow. But through halfway, that will get you to Wellesley. And then I think really the hills start at mile 15, 16. So, like you can break out 15 through 21. It's just like, that's a 10K section, 6 miles of, just staying really focused. I probably wouldn't look at my pace that much through the hills. And just in general, it's good guidance. Like if you're going up a hill, like don't look at your watch. Like it will not be helpful, so like just don't do that. But coming off of the hill, I think coming off of the hill, you're gonna feel like, so you're gonna pass Boston College, and if you feel good, you also don't want to start running a minute faster, and you still have 4 miles left to go into the city. So, my suggestion is sort of to have like a general sort of pace you want to head out at for the first 3 to 6 miles, and see what kind of day it is. And again, weather is going to have a huge factor. If it's a really hot day, then, you know, like I would slow down as much as 20 seconds to 30 seconds a mile to start in Boston because it's gonna get warmer as you get closer to the city. It does matter where the wind is coming from. It's a straight shot. If you get a tailwind, it's terrific. If you get a headwind, you're running into the wind the whole day. So, you know, like it's not something to worry about like right now, Monday night, but you know, in a week from now, you maybe, you know, want to think about a little bit. Like, and if it is a really hot day, then you start to hydrate a few days earlier, in a different way. So there's that too.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, still on.
For me, I just generally do a checkup of where my legs are after 10K, after 15K. Once I get to the halfway point, if my legs feel good, then I just say to myself, I know the Newton Hills are coming up, and if they're in a good place, then I know I can probably get to Newton Hills. But it's just there are all these. Where am I right now? How do I feel? And where do I, you know, if I feel that good, like then it becomes sort of like, when do I pick up? You know, and those are all things that develop as you go along. It's kind of hard to say, oh, I'm gonna do this at this point, but yeah, you just have to be mindful of just where your body is. It's Boston's kind of like you're riding on the coast of a lot of energy, and then maybe I went out too hard there. Maybe I took that hill a little bit too fast, and then you might pay for it later. So it's hard to sit here and then explain this to everyone how you're gonna feel, what you know, but you are the final arbiter of how you want to handle the last 5K, 10K. After you get through the hills, that's on you.
I'll give my little tidbit. But I'd say that Tony is exactly right. Where, you know, every moment, you know, like every 3 miles to 5 miles, just check in on yourself. You know, talk to yourself as far as, you know, your body. But be mindful. Really just like be okay and like pace yourself out. And be okay with like being a little bit more conservative than being overly, you know, lax about it. It will get you in the end if you don't play it right. Look at the course a little bit more. The downhills are steep downhills. So check up on those on the course profiles of like knowing where the downhills are. But if you could play it right, you could really do well on the last 5K and like know, okay, I have like 3 miles left, I have 2 miles left. I could expend a little bit more here, I could expend a little bit more there. But know that if you are totally shredded, like after heartbreak, that downhill will get you. And just be conservative on the downhills, like a little bit less, and like, you know, like don't just let your body just go on the downhills. So just savor the moments a little bit more. You know, if it's your first time, savor that. You know. Question or any questions over there?
You can just sit on that side.
Thank you all so much. This is really helpful just to have a sense of what it might feel like on the day and to have so many different kinds of perspectives. And I think you began to touch on this about the weather, but I would really appreciate hearing from all of you about your experience as you're getting ready for the race, if the weather's changing or if it's unanticipated and it's like 2018, just kind of how to mentally situate yourself so you're in a good spot when you start.
Just don't say 2018.
I'll stop.
I'd like,
Somebody send me a picture.
I'd like PTSD.
Any cold rain, like
Yeah.
just PTSD on that. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I pack, I bring. Usually it depends. I usually have arm sleeves, which you can get like really cheap ones too, and throwaways, gloves and hats. So usually I just plan for it being really cold. It could turn out to be 70 degrees, but still I just bring it, and it's like old hand-me-down throwaway clothes. You can go to Goodwill, wherever, just bring enough, and you can always, again, take off layers. So yeah, I've had the 2018 year, which was really rainy and cold, but I've also, last year was perfect. Had years where it's like really, really hot. Again, it's out of your control, so you aren't changing the weather, but you just have to adapt to it. But sunscreen.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think there's different things you would do if it was a cold day. If it was cold, or if it was like even just going to be like a little bit damp, then you want to have something to sit on when you're out in the village. So that's also, you know, some kind of thing to sit on. In addition to having just like, you want to be very warm until you have to run, and then if it's pouring rain and very cold, then you know you're gonna want to wear more layers, and like it may warm up, and like heaven forbid you take it off, and you know it's donated to the side of the road, and somebody can take care of it. But if it's hot, I think that that's a whole other ball game, and just in terms of how you hydrate before the race. I know I just said this, so that's something to think about. And then also just on the morning, and in the race itself, like Greg, one of my athletes, is here, but I'm a huge fan of like having water on your body. Like if you can keep your body temperature cool, like, and that means like taking water at the fuel station and then like putting water on your body, so like dumping water on your head. That's just like a way to like naturally keep your body temperature down. There's not a lot of shade on the course, so if it is a hot day, there are things that you can do like strategically as a runner. So in addition to slowing your pace down, you know, 20 to 30 seconds per mile to start, and then also just keep getting water on your body. And like, we won't know if it's gonna be we won't know until like we get closer to the day. But you know, like right now it looks like it could be perfect weather. So fingers crossed.
Boston weather has been wacky. 2018, yeah. I looked good at mile 20, right? Didn't I? And then it all fell apart. You don't know how your body's gonna react to the weather. And 2019 was really weird. It was pouring when we got to the village. Absolutely, it was rainy. If you put sunscreen, you would have said, no way I'm gonna put sunscreen on today. Guess what happened? Well, later that afternoon, the sun came out and we all got burned on one side. So it could be that strange in the course of like from the start to the end. And then at the end, the rain came again. So then it was like, oh, now I'm chilly, because it's a wind tunnel at the end, by the way. When you come out, you get your medal. It's sort of a wind tunnel, so it can. If you're cold, you're going to be much colder. It's always best to be warm. From what I learned from 2018, I didn't anticipate that kind of cold, and then I suffered the consequences from that. So it's understandable to be obsessed about what kind of weather it is and whatnot, but again, it's out of your control. You just try to do your best just to stay warm, and then on a hot day you can just shed, and that's the great thing about it. If it turns warmer, you can just shed. Once you're cold, you can't get warm.
How important is fuel on a cold day? I feel like you continue to do that. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think
Trick question.
it's a trick question. If it's a cool day, so I don't know how many people ran the New York City Half a couple weeks ago, or you just did a long run even over the weekend. Although like Saturday afternoon was very warm in New York, it was cool on Saturday morning, and Saturday afternoon was Saturday morning, Sunday morning were both cool. Whatever you did for fueling that day, you would do the same. Naturally, when your body starts to get, if you're experiencing any type of symptoms, you know, not hypothermia, but you're getting colder, your body isn't going to tell you, please take that Gatorade, I need that. Like the way that it does, the way your brain tells your body when you're hot. So, you know, like you need to consciously do everything within your control to make sure that you are taking the gels, taking the fuel on the course. And it becomes more of a conscious decision. And again, it's just a little bit of like what your brain is telling your body it needs. So on a hot day, your body will tell you what it needs and your brain will agree with that. When it gets colder, you still want to do all of the same things that you've practiced all winter living in New York. Nothing changes on that. And like towards the end of the race, it's going to be even more important. And like I'm talking about the last 6 miles, because that's really when the marathon begins. And if your glycogen stores are way down because you skipped a few, you're like, I don't need that Gatorade, or I don't need that whatever you're taking on the course, that gel can really catch up to you, and that can really change your experience in the last 10K.
Yeah, I nailed it.
One thing that you guys do from home, which is New York City Marathon home base versus an actual travel marathon, is that you're going to be in a hotel too. So air conditioning, when you guys are in the rooms with air conditioning, it dries out your skin a little bit more because you do evaporate. Your like just liquids and just evaporates out off your skin. So hydrate more throughout the week, and then also hydrate more during the start of the race, going to the race, and then even right before you leave in the wave as well too. So that will help just increase your water intake as well too. But yeah, I would just take as many water stations. Just keep taking water or Gatorade, one or the other, a little bit of each, and then just like if you don't eat it, then like spit it out a little bit more, but just like kind of have it in your mouth. And never skip, like if you are in a nutrition plan, like stick with your plan. You know, like even though the race is going really well and stuff like that, you know, everyone like has run a marathon here in some cases. Some people haven't. You know, just stick with your plan, and you know, just stay. Even though like things could go wrong, like in a foot away, you know, like everyone knows that within a race like that too. So. Yeah.
There's something about Boston where you know you may be able to avoid this in New York City Marathon, for example, or wherever you qualified, but you get on the bus and then all of a sudden, like, you know, you're eating this and you're eating that, and like I'm eating that too. And so I've had athletes actually go out to the village and they started chowing down on bagels, like that they actually never did in practice, like multiple bagels. And so when she started the race, she was so full, and you know, just making decisions that like you would never do. And she was experienced; she'd done multiple marathons. So just, you know, like having the ability to make decisions for yourself, like, you know, Nick can do that, Tony can do that, I can do this because I practiced it. And I think that's just going to be really important, because there's a lot of hype and you're going to see a lot of weird things happening around you, and it's okay to not like also do that yourself.
That's very true.
Yeah, just do not follow anyone else. The funniest thing, this is just a funny thing. It's not so funny because 2018, when it was pouring, standing there inside the tent, first timer, you could tell she was very anxious. She had the plastic bags. She put it over her head and tied it. And we were looking at her like, you just put a plastic bag and tied it over your head. What are you doing? Do you want to suffocate yourself before you even get to the start line? That's how nervous, and that's how sometimes people don't really think when they're that nervous.
Oh.
And she said, is this okay? Can I run like this? And I was like, no. So again, those type of conditions can throw people off. So just
It's true.
nothing crazy. Just remember what you you know, just take a deep breath.
Any other questions? Molly? Question? No, yeah.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so I just had a question. My running club went to Boston last weekend. I got to run part of the course, which was really great. Helped a lot of the nerves. But you know, when you're running it just like on a random weekend and there's nobody around, it's kind of hard to picture like tons of people, except obviously in the city that was easier to picture. But I know that there are going to be points that are quiet, especially in the first half of the race. Like, are there points where you like don't see spectators? Is it really quiet? Are there times where I will appreciate having my headphones?
That's it, basically.
Yeah.
There's like probably just only one spot, and that's like right before Wellesley, actually. Because it's like a more wooded area, you kind of like throughout the whole entire course, like you would think that because it's like smaller towns and you go through like, you know, in and out of the small towns, it does get dicey here and there, but like not too bad. Like you kind of appreciate the kind of like not sound areas. But it's just for small moments of time. Like even before Wellesley, you do get it like right in the like wooded areas, like right before, you could still hear them like in the distance, like it's that loud. And then as you keep coming along, you know, you see people, and then you hear the sound of the girls. But it's just, I know.
Movies.
It is. But like as you get into Boston and as you get closer and closer, like it does start to like the hills. It's just a ton of people, you know. So like from, you know, like 14 on, like it's continuous, but like from, you know, like 1 through 10 to 13, it's like patches, but like there's a lot of people still along that like road. Even like the first beginning into the first or second mile, like there's a bar that has all these like road hogs and like whatever that they always hang out in the bar, and you'll see like tons of motorcycles along the side, and you know, like people just line up on the hill. It's everywhere, so it's cool. You guys have any?
No. Just yeah, great Boston accents though up there, so enjoy that.
Any other questions? No? Everyone else? Question?
No.
Okay.
Don't let the Boston college kids make you do anything you don't want to do. Because they're gonna be, yeah, go. And if they see your name, they're gonna give you all they've got.
Cool. So Nick, Kate, and Tony, thank you so much for having you guys at this for the Boston panel, and thank you guys all for attending. And yeah, we'll say good luck and wish you good fortune.